Hello and welcome to the future of foam bonding. Thank you for joining us today. We appreciate you taking the opportunity to learn from a mix of industry leaders. We have 3 topics in store for you today. The first is about producing furniture more efficiently. We will discuss the challenges that the furniture industry is facing nowadays and how to tackle them by having more productive process in place. In the second session, we will talk about circularity in the foam bonding industry. There is a lot of movement around this topic with initiatives, pilots, and legislation evolving from day to day. This session gives you a great view on the latest developments. The third and the last session focuses on producing mattresses faster through automation. We will discuss the trends and developments in the mattress industry. So sit back and relax. At any moment, you can submit your comment or question in the chat function. We will be ready to answer all of your questions. So let's get started. My name is Eva and I'm your host for today. Welcome everybody. It's a real pleasure for me today to host you during the first Saba digital event. We are ready to kick off with the first session. It's going to be orientated on answering the main question for furniture industry about its future and how to help our customers to produce furniture much more efficiently. And the first person who's going to help us in answering this question is Mrs. Gabriela Kemendi, Secretary General at EFIC. European Furniture Industries Confederation is the voice of European furniture manufacturers. It was founded in 2006, and since that time, in the meantime, is representing 70% of all of the industry turnover in Europe. Welcome, Gabriela.
Thank you very much, Eva, and thank you for the invitation.
How are you today?
Very good, thank you. The sun is shining in Brussels, so it's a very nice day and also very good forecast for the weekend. So looking forward. How about yourself?
Thank you very much. We are fortunately not in rainy Netherlands today, so I can share your comment about the weather, which is great. We are looking forward to your presentation. I'm pretty sure that it will be very insightful and very interesting. So let's get started.
Thank you very much. And as I said, thank you very much for involving EFIC and for extending this invitation to our confederation. Also, thank you to Saba for organizing this event, which is very timely when we have a look at the sustainability agenda of the EU, as you all know. So I've been asked to speak about the views of the furniture industries on circularity. But before we move to that, I would just like to give you some insights into our confederation. So as Eva said, we were founded in 2006, and now we represent over 70% of the total turnover of the furniture industries in Europe. There is, of course, potential for us to grow, and we're working on it, but we're already representing the majority of the industry. We have national federations as main members from EU, EEA, and other European countries, and also 2 associated members, 1 company and 1 cluster. Also, some key figures about the EU furniture industry. So the industry employs about 1 million people in approximately 120,000 enterprises, mainly SMEs and micro enterprises, and generates 96 billion euros turnover on an annual basis. The EU furniture industries, also for you to know, consumes and produces 25% of the world furniture and represents about 40% of the total world trade. Let's move on to the key areas of interest for our confederation. So, as I said, the sector is composed mainly by SMEs and micro enterprises. And with that in mind, we strive for a deeper harmonization of the single market rules in order for these companies to have a predictable framework to work under. We are now very much focused on environmental and circular economy initiatives at EU level, and I will speak a bit more about that in a bit. We, as an industry, promote international trade that is free but rules-based. And the industry is quite a lot oriented towards international trade, imports and exports, as you have seen on the previous slide. And EFIC is also a social partner at European level. And in this platform of the social dialogue, we tackle issues such as skills needs, health and safety, and attractiveness of the industry. And then there are a number of other topics that are a bit more transversal, such as standardization initiatives, intellectual property rights, that we're also following. So what you're seeing on the slide is, of course, not exhaustive. And now moving to the environment and circular economy agenda. As I said, this is one of our main areas of interest. And as you all know, the EU has a very ambitious sustainability agenda in place. We saw the publication of the European Green Deal in 2019, which is the sustainability framework agenda of the EU, with the main goal of making Europe a climate neutral continent by 2050. The European Green Deal addresses a number of areas in order to attain this objective of climate neutrality. And one of them is industries becoming more circular. So with this in mind, we saw a circular economy action plan update in 2020. And one of the main initiatives that we're following now at European level is an upcoming sustainable product initiative. And let me tell you a bit more about why it's so important for us to follow this file. We expect the proposal of a directive at the end of the year. And we have been involved heavily in consultations with the Commission and with external consultants, which are working on an impact assessment that will accompany this proposal for a directive. And you will see why it's so important for us, because this future directive aims at widening the scope of the current eco-design directive to also cover non-energy related products. So we will see that this main initiative will have a great impact on how furniture is produced, consumed, and discarded of in the future. The proposal, apart from widening the scope of the Eco-Design Directive, will also cover design for sustainability, making sure that producers improve the durability, the reusability, upgradability, and repairability of their products, making sure that they put in place a modular design so that the key components and materials can be disassembled and separated, or making sure that the use of hazardous substances is minimized. So apart from the design aspect, there are talks about the introduction of electronic product passports in order to pass along the value chain the information on the product. And also this initiative will tackle circular business models and the implementation of these. The Sustainable Products Initiative, which we expect at the end of the year, as I mentioned, there will be a proposal from the Commission, will give priority to product groups such as furniture, which was identified in the Circular Economy Action Plan as one of the groups that have to be tackled at first, together with some others, as you're seeing on the slide, like electronics, textiles, intermediate products, or other such as steel, cement, etc. So, as I said at the beginning of the presentation, I've been mainly asked to speak about the views of the furniture industry on all these initiatives on circularity. And I can tell you that the industry sees circular economy as an opportunity. We embrace all these changes. And we also think that the transition to circularity will be the main contribution of the furniture industries to the climate neutrality objectives that I was talking to you about. So there are a series of general principles that we are promoting towards European policymakers when it comes to creating legislation on circular economy, such as the need for taking a holistic approach and not reinventing the wheel. There is a lot of legislation that already exists, which will have to be updated, but it has to be already taken into account. And it's very important that rules are harmonized at European level. including definitions, because we need to have a common understanding on circular economy. It's also very important from our view to involve the industry, because there are already a lot of best practices, and we can share our expertise in the making of the legislation. And of course, it's also very important to involve standardization bodies. Just to give you an example, CEN/TC 207 for furniture is already tackling circularity needs of the furniture industry, and a standard is already under development on disassemblability to start with. And a special working group within the committee has been established to work on circularity needs for the furniture industry. I was saying that policymakers have to have a holistic approach. It's also very important that they take into account the whole value chain. So the furniture industry is part of the process, but we cannot make it alone. So there needs to be collaboration with other partners along the value chain. And of course, our suppliers are a very important actor here. So collaboration is key. Some other principles that we're putting forward to policymakers is the need for making sure that the complexity, not only of the value chain, is taken into account, but also of the product itself. Because as you know, under the umbrella of the furniture category, a lot of different products fall. And there is a lot of wide range of materials that is used in furniture production. So all these aspects have to be taken into account when policymakers deliberate about product design, electronic product passports, or the implementation of circular business models. Then it's also very important to grant flexibility to the industry to transition to the circular economy, to incentivize circular products. So we have to have consumers and public buyers on our side in this transition. There will be a need to research a number of parameters, and also the appropriate funding needs to be put in place for that. Then, as I was saying earlier, the furniture industries are very much international trade oriented. So we need to make sure that imported products follow the same rules as those that are produced in the EU. So all this global aspect has to be taken into account when developing circular economy rules. And last but not least, we need to address the skills needs that that will most probably change with the transition to the circular economy, and also to reap the benefits of digitalization. One of the examples is the introduction of electronic product passports, which we see as a positive development, of course, with a number of recommendations on how they should look like, but it can bring positive aspects to the circular economy. So with this in mind, what should be the role of adhesives in a circular economy, given that, as we see, there will be upcoming demands from policymakers on implementing a modular design, on making sure that materials and components are separable and disassemblable, as key features to enable repairability, upgradability, and a more optimal recycling? It's of course a very interesting question, and if we think of the role of adhesives in a circular economy, there are some positive and some negative aspects as it stands today. Under the positive aspects, we can list a couple at least. So adhesives enable resource efficiency in the sense that you can take raw materials or scrap materials and glue them together to create something with a higher value. For example, wood chips can be glued together to create chipboards, and otherwise these wood chips would be burnt. So the resource efficiency is one aspect. And then, of course, the climate and carbon dioxide emissions are reduced when certain materials are replaced. To give you an example, laminated wooden beams, for example, can replace the use of metal or concrete. So to tackle also perhaps a couple of cons, there is of course a challenge to separate materials and to meet upcoming policy demands for modular design and separability, which will have a very important role in the future, as we've seen. So that's one of the issues to address. And of course, recycling composite materials, and this aspect will most probably be touched upon by the other speakers of today's event. So as we see, there are a lot of open questions. We need innovation from our suppliers. And as I've said before, it's very important that we all collaborate in order to ensure that this transition to a circular economy runs smoothly. I can tell you that some furniture manufacturers have found solutions without the use of glue. For example, by tightening a textile on the padding material. But of course, we will need further solutions in the future for combining the padding material with the textiles in order to comply with the upcoming policy demands. And then a series of questions arise, such as, is it at all possible to glue textiles to padding materials and still fulfill these demands on separability? And is, from a technical point of view, the use of such a glue possible? Another question that arises is whether suppliers can provide waterborne solutions with the same quality as solvent-borne. If we see that addressing the use of certain substances becomes more and more important at European level, both under initiatives such as the Sustainable Products Directive or taxonomy. And then a last question that arises is, what about the availability and performance of bio-based adhesives? So as you see, there are a lot of open questions. We need collaboration with suppliers. And as I've also said at the beginning, we are in a transition, meaning that we don't have the solutions for everything at the moment, and these will come in the future. But let us keep the dialogue open and collaborate where we see the need for this transition to be a reality. So this was all from my side. Thank you very much.
It was a very interesting presentation, Gabriela, and if you will let me to ask you two questions which has arisen during listening to it and watching it, that would be great. The first one is, you shared with us a lot of information about challenges which in general furniture industry has got ahead. What kind of main challenge or main threat in this road to circular economy in the furniture industry you would determine? Like the one main.
I believe there will be several challenges on the way, of course, because as I was saying, there is a transition that we need to move on with. Some of the main challenges will be the availability of materials that will help us in the transition to circularity, and then of course also other components that we need, such as glues, that can help us to, comply with the upcoming demands on product design, as I said, but also on the use of certain substances, such as hazardous substances.
Okay.
So these are the two aspects that come to my mind. Okay. There could be others, of course. As I said, the value chain is very complex. We have a two-tier distribution system in the furniture industry in many countries. So that will also impact a lot what can be done and what not in the future when it comes to circular economy. So there is a lot of complexities to take into account.
Okay. Great. Thanks for the answer. And the other question, I was wondering while listening to your presentation, is the circular economy and the concept which all of us, we do agree is like the future in furniture industry. Is it the concept which is more coming from EFIC to its members, or more the pressure is given from the members to EFIC to like collaborate on that one? Who's giving more pressure on that one?
That's an excellent question. I think it comes from both sides, if I may say. On the one side, we see that there is a lot of development and a lot of initiatives coming from the European institutions. Therefore, we inform members so that they are, abreast with all the changes that will come in the future and that will affect the industry, so that they can adapt in time. And on the other hand, we see a lot of manufacturers who are advanced in the circular economy and who have already found their own solutions and a lot of good best practices that could be at a certain stage also part of future legislation. So that has to be used somehow, the know-how and the knowledge that part of the industry has already developed. So I would say it comes from both sides.
Okay.
We're complementing each other.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Gabriela, for sharing your knowledge and your perspective on the subject with us. Thank you.
Thanks.
And have a wonderful day. Our next guest, who is going to help us to answer next questions on the future of furniture production, is Mrs. Amelia Dubowska. Amelia is representing Coats Company. She's a head of household and recreation sector at EMEA area. Coats is a worldwide leading thread producer which is supplying not only furniture industry but also many others. Hello, Amelia.
Hello, good to see you.
Hello, how are you today?
I'm good, okay. That's a pity that we can only meet online still, but I really hope that next month will bring us the change.
Exactly. I have to say that one because I'm really happy that you are with us today, and it brings to all of this event even more Polish accent. Both of us, we are from Poland. Both of us within our companies, we do have a serial role, so it's even more a pleasure for me to host you over here. I did prepare a few questions to you. Hopefully they won't be extremely challenging. Definitely they won't. And let's start from the most general one. So I would like to ask you about general trends in design and developments in the market, which you do observe, and how Coats as a company is reacting on them.
It's a great question, and we can talk about it hours and hours, I think. I think we have to concentrate on two main trends in design and in production and separate them a little bit, but not totally. So the main thing, which already Gabriela mentioned a few minutes ago, is the circular economy turning into sustainability, more interest into eco-friendly products. And this is visible in two things. For example, in interest in natural materials like linen, like hemp, like bamboo. And these are products that can be implemented in the production and be used in the production. And the second trend is to use the more recycled polyester products. So be ready to recycle products after the life cycle of the good. Of course, we can. As Coats, I'm happy to say that we are ready to present to the producers on the market all of the solutions that I mentioned a few seconds ago. We've got threads from linen, bamboo, we've got recycled polyester range, because our eco journey started like 3 years ago, in fact, when we put our eco strategy, sustainable strategy in place, and started to develop all the products that we can offer to the producers acting on the market. So right now we are able to deliver full range of recycled polyester threads, and our strategy is to switch into all our premium products into recycled polyester until 2024. So not much time to that moment. So this is one trend. The second trend, which I can also share, is also color being introduced into our homes. It's not only natural brownish, grayish shades which are in our houses in design, but we can see that the color is very, very, very popular right now and in fashion. Mixing colors, mixing designs, mixing prints, all that is visible in furniture industry right now, and of course this is also something that we can support easily with our wide range of colors or even special colors adjusted to the fabric of the producers, or I don't know, if a customer would like to have furniture in the color of the eyes of the wife or whatever, we can make such a color as well on demand. And thanks to our global presence, it's possible also to share the development and produce the same color in every region of the world. So these would be the main things I would say are happening in design right now.
Okay, so before moving to the next serious question, share with us what is the most common color right now ordered by customers?
I think green will be the shade of 2022, because right now we are already starting the production for 2022. But last 2 years, I would say we had a lot of blues. A lot of blue sofas and furniture done. And still a huge part is browns, grayish
like the traditional
shades
ones.
and variations. Yeah.
Okay, good to know. We were talking about trends and development in general, and what about production process? I mean, every industry has got specific production-related challenges. What kind of those challenges codes that have right now, and how you are preparing yourself for making it achievable for customers?
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's a challenging time for all the productions, and the transport crisis is not helping a lot. Of course, the main thing is the raw material shortage and the cost of the transport. These are the main things that are a pain. That are a pain of all the producers. And the third thing I would say is the lack of people that would like to work in close to the production, and how Coats is it's dealing with it. So thanks to the global presence, we are able to share our knowledge and our resources, which we have all over the world. And if even now in the COVID times, when some markets were closed, the others were open, some were totally blocked, we were able to share our resources and our possibilities and exchange the possibility to produce worldwide. If Vietnam was closed, we were producing in Brazil. If India was closed, we were producing in Europe, in Hungary. So and if Morocco had some problems, we were able to share with them some goods and be able to supply customers with the goods that they really need for the production. And the demand is also growing hugely, and we see that not only in Europe. People are sitting at home on home offices, they are looking at their walls and they are trying to add something new to the environment. They are spending 8 or 10 hours every day. So we see a huge increase in demand. So thanks to that, we are able to smoothly deliver goods to the customers. of course, it's not easy, but yeah, it's challenging. But we are here to support. So it's not something that we can. It's something that we can do. And what we can see also, as the demand is growing, there is a huge need for the producers to change the way of thinking, how they just the way of thinking. For many years, furnitures were produced mainly manually, and these processes must be changed right now. There is a need for the digitalization of the process, to put the innovation in place, to automate processes that can be automated. And also, I said that the lack of people that would work that will to work in that business is also we are able to replace people partially, but not totally, with the digitalization or automation of the production. So we did this for coats already few years ago, and we are still doing. We are still investing in innovation in our factories, and we are trying to minimize the impact of the human force. But this is an ongoing process, so it cannot be just stopped at a certain moment. So it's still happening. The one thing I want to say, we were facing a few years ago globalization of the production, and it was just cheaper to produce something in Far East and to get products from there. Now it's not so obvious because of the transport cost, because of the raw materials shortages. Right now we see that the production is coming back to Europe, to more expensive countries, countries when it comes to production, and also thanks to the fact that we have, for example, 3 factories here in Europe, we are able to supply it smoothly to the customers, the product that they need. So yeah, and we are flexible with our supplies.
Okay, thank you very much. Talking about the efficiency, I have to say that you answered in this one question 2 more of the questions which I had on my list. Definitely the shortages of raw materials and the supply chain situation was one of them, and digitalization as well. We can dive into it also a bit if you want to add something to it. One of the most important goals which we as a suppliers of furniture industry are having ahead is to make the production of our customers faster and more efficient. How, in your perspective, all of us suppliers, but also Coats as a specific supplier, can help our customers in achieving this goal?
A few years ago, we decided not only to produce thread. So there was a creation of the segment in Coats, which is called Coats Digital. And as I said, digitalization and innovation, automatization, it's a process that would touch all the producers that want to grow, that wants to develop, and that wants to produce faster, better, and much cost effective. So Coats Digital is offering to the producers software solutions, sharing the industry best practice based on the numbers, based on the digital tools like product life cycle management or time and cost optimization tool or standard cost verification tool. So all these digital solutions are also available in our range, and I can surely say that that Coats is not only a supplier of thread, but also a partner supporting producers to develop faster and just becoming better.
That was a great summary. Great summary. And it's something which, again, has got a lot of in common with Saba, because we also like to say that we are not an adhesive supplier. We are, in fact, partner in making the foam bonding process much more better for the customer. Thank you very much, Amelia, and thank you very much, Gabriela. You gave us your knowledge and your perspective to furniture industry. Thank you for sharing that. That was it for the first session, orientated on the furniture market, and we are ready to start up with the second one.
What if we could create a better everyday life for the many people? For the couples that turn into families, the children, the lovers, for the old ladies, the single ladies, the single mothers, and for those who need to start all over. What if we always side with the many by designing the price tag before anything else? What if furniture could be better for nature, better for people? What if we could make furniture out of waste? What if old glass could get new life? What if we could collect all these bottles and turn them into something else? Like this chair. What if we could plant more trees than we use? And what if we could use wood in new ways so that this tree and all of these trees could grow to be just trees? What if we turn the tables on food and make meatballs without meat? What if we turn the tables on tables and make screws that aren't screws? In fact, what if we lose the screws completely so we can put things up, take them down, and put them up again? What if we try to design new behaviors instead of new products? Better play instead of toys, and better sleep instead of beds? What if water taps could save water? And light bulbs could save light? What if all our stores could power themselves? And what if the best packaging is no packaging? What if we could make furniture out of air? What if we tried twice and failed twice? And what if we try again? What if we celebrate our differences? Because without each and every person, we wouldn't be complete. What if we never settled for an answer? What if we always ask ourselves, what if?
And now we are ready to move to the second session, which is going to be focused on circularity. What, in fact, circularity stands for? To make the long story short and very complicated definitions really simpler, circularity, in fact, means giving to the things second life. It's a concept according to which all of the products in the end of their life cycle are able to be transformed to raw materials from which we are able to produce again high quality and high value products. It's also something which is orientated on eliminating the waste, but first of all, it's a contribution and accepting the responsibility for having a healthier planet for our next generation. One of the biggest players in the market, IKEA, has got a very challenging goal in terms of circularity. By 2030, all of the products designed by IKEA are supposed to be 100% circular. Let's, in that case, take a look at their inspiring and very ambitious story.
We have asked ourselves many what-if questions, and today we would like to share with you how we've got inspired by those questions to enable our customers more sustainable living and to create circular IKEA offer. But before going into that, please let us introduce ourselves. My name is Magdalena Dębska. I'm Engineering and Quality Manager at Inter IKEA Group.
And my name is Kacper Kęcioch. I work as Engineering and Quality Leader, responsible for mattress product in Inter IKEA organization. In our vision and business model, we always focus on customer needs and expectations. It is not a secret that companies who meet and exceed those expectations perform better than the companies who don't collect and don't listen to the voice of the customers. That is why our mission is to deliver well-designed, functional, sustainable, and extremely durable product with the lowest possible price. If you talk about IKEA vision and business model, we have to mention also about our business commitments to the customers. Healthy, safe, and sustainable products fair and equal treatment of all partners in the entire IKEA supply chain, and circular and climate positive movements are something what should not be treated as an extra offer for a limited group of the people. Each of the clients, in the same way as each of us, should get it for free, because it is common expectation and because it is good for our planet.
As Kacper has presented, we identified 3 focus areas, and to each of them we have defined our strategic goals. If we concentrate on circular and climate positive, we want to enable our customers to acquire things they love, to be able to repair it, and to pass on to prolong its life when no longer needed. We also know that customers expect us to do things right from the beginning. That means when we develop new product, we have to make sure it is easy to be repaired, refurbished, repurposed, resell, and eventually recycled. We have also committed to turn all the materials that we use by 2030 to recycled and renewable, to source them in a transparent way and to use them smarter than we do it today. And when we deliver to those 3 goals, we will turn our IKEA business and ways of working from linear to circular. But we don't have all the answers yet, and we will not get them alone. This is why we reach out to our partners in the supply chain and outside. We work in a collaborative way. We are transparent about what we've learned in order to make it happen. In order to become climate positive, we need to take the responsibility for the whole value chain. That means that we need to understand emissions in every part of it, set the goals and actions. If we speak today about the materials and production, we commit that by 2030 we will reduce greenhouse gas emissions from the materials by 15% and from the production by 80%.
Each of the categories is responsible to develop new products having as a principle our commitments. I want to highlight this one more time, that delivering of sustainable and best quality products, it is really something in what we believe in. It is something what is important for us, our customers, Mother Nature, and entire planet. For instance, during our last development of new spring mattresses, we implemented many sustainable and innovative solutions with lower price ever. We have heard that it's not possible, but with the right attitude, it was possible. We already see that our customers are super appreciated for listening their voice. IKEA is super proud when it comes to sustainability movements, especially in the field of the comfort materials, like polyester or polyurethane foam. Of course, there are some components where we still see a big need to make positive move. One of such components is glue. Our yearly consumption of the glue is about 450,000 tons per year of different types of the adhesives. Big part of this glue is used by comfort products. It is not a secret that IKEA uses many components in even bigger volumes than adhesives. But what if I tell you that our glue consumption is responsible for about 6% of the total IKEA climate footprint? That is why it is so important for us to explore also this material.
It is important to add that when we work with the development of new product, we use the model that is called democratic design. In order to meet the needs of our customers, we have to deliver to 5 dimensions of that model, which is quality, function, sustainability, form, and low price. At IKEA we know that customers don't want to pay more for sustainability. They say it is our responsibility. So this is our circular and climate positive plan. The journey has started. With this meeting we would like to invite you to work with us. So what if we join forces together?
It was truly inspiring, wasn't it? We will have an occasion to meet IKEA representatives during panel conversation, so we will be able to dive much more deeper into the subject of circularity together with them. And in the meantime, our next guest is waiting. It's Michelle Baumgartner, Secretary General of Europur, European Association of Flexible Polyurethane Foam Producers. Hello. Good afternoon.
Hello, thanks for the
Hello.
invite.
How are you today?
Very good, and exciting to have a very good conference on the future of foam bonding.
Perfect. So we are sharing our feelings. We are excited and looking forward to your presentation as well. Let's get started.
Okay. I can see my slides are up. Thanks for inviting me to talk about the future of PU foam recycling. As we could see in the presentation of IKEA, indeed it is one of the main materials used in upholstered furniture, and as such, as an industry, we are also focusing on how we can become more sustainable in the future, and part of that is looking at options for recycling. But before we talk about recycling technologies, we can maybe have a look at the regulatory context, current and upcoming, notably in terms of European waste legislation, that will also be a framework of what is coming onto us. In Europe, we have a general waste legislation for a long time, of course, but it was deeply revised in 2018, notably when it comes to the Waste Framework Directive and the Landfill Directive. What is new in this legislative package from 2018 is that for the first time, mattresses and furniture were specifically mentioned as waste streams to be tackled in the new definition of municipal waste. Mandatory recycling targets for municipal waste in weight increase over time, and we'll have to recycle 55% of that in 2030, for example. The legislation also requires a strong reduction close to actual phasing out of landfilling by 2030, and also a strong reduction of waste to energy incineration via increased costs. Finally, the legislation encourages the setting up of so-called EPR schemes, whereby retailers and producers become responsible for the collection and dismantling of the products that they place on the market. Furthermore, that's for the past. Furthermore, for the future, in 2022, we know that discussions will take place at EU level on a new version of the End-of-Life Vehicles Directive that deals with old cars, and also a new product policy for furniture should be adopted. We already know that possible recycled content obligations for plastic fractions in those products will be on the table, and for furniture at least, also designed for dismantling. And as we could see in the presentation from IKEA, it makes sense. If you want to recycle more, you also need to ensure that materials can actually be recovered. Now that we have seen the regulatory context, let's just look at the end of life of PU foam today, and then we'll discuss the future. So how post-consumer foams are dealt with today very much depends on the fate of the products that contain it, and those are mostly mattresses, furniture, and cars. In many areas in Europe, there is no separate infrastructure in place to collect post-consumer mattresses or furniture, and this makes recycling difficult. There is semi-automated machinery available for the dismantling of mattresses, as they have all more or less the same shape, but dismantling of furniture remains in Europe a largely labor-intensive and thus high-cost operation, and all that makes recycling difficult. Experts in our circular economy working group that we have in the association have calculated that if all mattresses and all furniture were collected and dismantled, the total volume of PU foam available for recycling would be between 240 and 290 kilotons per year for mattresses and 350 to 400 kilotons for furniture in Europe. That's the theory. The reality is that most consumer mattresses and furniture still get landfilled or incinerated, as the data on the slide shows. Now, remember what I said a couple of minutes ago. On the regulatory context, landfilling is to be largely phased out by 2030, and waste to energy is to be strongly reduced. This means that the two main ways of treating post-consumer mattresses and furniture today are under jeopardy, and that things will need to change a lot in the coming decade if we want to achieve our regulatory objectives. For the sake of time, I'm not going to speak at length about automobiles, but they're really mainly due to the way that cars are recycled by shredding today. Little recycling of foams is possible currently. We'll have to think about that also in the coming years. So now that we have a vision of the situation, let's look at how foams can be recycled. And the first and most obvious way of recycling foam is mechanical recycling. It's really nothing new. Mechanical recycling has been used for decades to recycle production cutoffs in our industry and to make new products such as carpet underlay, acoustic insulation panels, gym mats, sport pitches, green roofs. Really, there's many applications. And for post-consumer foams, this is also absolutely possible at the moment. One of our member companies in the association in the Netherlands already has installed recycling capacity for 1 million mattresses per year. That is 70% of post-consumer mattresses in the country. So it is possible, but the question arises as to why not all countries do this. Well, it's mainly a market issue. The application where the bonded foam goes into are relatively minor markets in size compared to furniture and bedding. They will never be able to absorb all possible post-consumer foam volumes, so we have to look at other recycling technologies too. And that then brings me to the other possible options for recycling PU foam. The first one is chemical recycling, chemolysis. And the first foams made with polyols from post-consumer mattresses are coming onto the market. There's currently 6 plants under construction or planned in Europe for chemical recycling of foams. 1 in Belgium, France, 2 in Germany, Spain, and the Netherlands. And on the next slide, you do have some press clippings that show the announcements that were made. You see that most of the announcements were made in 2020, 20 and 21. The first plant that actually went on stream in September of this year is the one of Dow and Orion in France, which have partnered with the Vita Group to put foams made with recycled polyols onto the second plant work has started. The first stone was laid in September of this year. Is a plant of Retour Matras in the Netherlands. You do have a plant in Spain that is currently under construction, and the 3 other projects are still at the level of pilots or announcements. They're a bit later in time, but they are coming too. So you see that things are moving. There's also announcements that we expect anytime soon of more players that will also be building chemical recycling plants. And these plants will transform foams from post-consumer mattresses and or furniture into new raw materials to make new foams, either for making new mattresses and furniture or for making insulation. There's another technology that counts as well for recycling for the future. It's thermochemical recycling, or also known as pyrolysis. There, the ambition is to transform plastics, not necessarily only PU foams, into oils that can then be reused by the chemical industry to make virgin quality raw materials. And this can also, in our sector, be a useful way of recycling mattresses that are wet or contaminated because there is less granularity needed in the sorting for putting materials into those plants. So are we there yet? Not quite, but when I started addressing all these issues in the trade association 5 years ago, it seems that PU foam was a very difficult to recycle material, and also that chemical recycling and thermochemical recycling were really far off in the future. And we see that this is not the case anymore. We do have the first chemical recycling plant that is on stream. We will have at least 2 more in the next 2 years. And from then on, we can say that we are listening to our customers, and that PU foam will be part of the set of materials that are sustainable for the future. There's, of course, challenges to be overcome. And the first one is access to the resource. Also at local level, meaning that, as long as there is no separate collection and dismantling of mattresses and furniture, it's of course pretty hard to recycle PU foam and other components from those products. So this really needs to be an infrastructure for that. The second challenge is getting access to the materials at product level. If products are very difficult to dismantle, then you can not recycle the materials very easily. If a lot of manual interventions are needed, it really makes recycling non-economical and therefore difficult. There needs to be a market for the recyclates, whether they are mechanical or chemical. And there you will see that in the discussions, regulators are thinking about creating those markets by imposing recycled content in new products towards the future. And then there's challenges that are more internal to the industry. It's how to move from an industrial to industrial plants, from pilot plants, how you sort materials that can look the same. PU foam to people outside the industry looks like PU foam, but there's different varieties of it. The finer you sort, the better you can recycle. So that is a challenge a number of companies are currently working on. Another challenge we have to solve is recycling of all foam components in chemical recycling. Right now, the plants that come on stream produce new polyols, while to make foam, you need polyols and isocyanates. So in the future, new technologies will need to look at also how you can recycle the isocyanate fractions of foams. And also we'll need to think about how to certify recycled content in the future to avoid green claims in the industry, and also how to work at harmonized end-of-life definitions, which will be important for the mechanical recycling. So that's challenges we're going to have to address in the coming years. They are all on the agenda, and I'm sure that, it's work under progress, but in 2030, which is the timeline that Kia was mentioning in their presentation, things should be very different than they are today in the foam market. And that's it for my presentation, and I look forward to a fruitful discussion.
Thank you very much, Michel, for this very comprehensive presentation. And indeed, all of the challenges which you shared on your last screen, I think that in a big part they will be covered by our panel discussion. So please stay with us. And additionally, I would like to invite for this conversation Ryan Trainer, President of ISPA. Hello, Ryan.
Hello, how are you?
Good, good. Everything is good. Kacper Kręcioch and Hossein Naraval from IKEA. Hello. And hello, and Chris Belterman, who's over here physically sitting. That's the advantage which you do have, but it means that you will get much tougher questions from me. Product marketing manager at Saba. So let's maybe, Michel, you already had your warm-up, so let's start with the first question directed to you. And it's quite a common question which we do receive also from our customers, but in general, being present in the market. We are putting many efforts into mattress recycling and talking about circularity around like mattress industry, and not so much about furniture, in general comfort products. What is the reason behind? Why do you think it's happening like that?
Well, I think it's happening like that because mattresses are, as I said, relatively easy to dismantle. Mm-hmm. And there's machinery for that, developed by a number of machinery manufacturers, where you can put the mattress in at the beginning, and at the end of the machine you get the different material streams. Furniture is a lot more complex usually. It comes in all sizes and shapes. Also, you do have mixes of foam that can be molded, can be of other technologies. And they are made to last a very long time, and there's no machine that exists where you can put a sofa in and then you get the materials at the end coming out. You do need people with knives. And we speak of materials that they do have a market value at the post-consumer stage, but not such that you can pay a lot of man hours to actually work on the dismantling. So that is why most people look at mattresses as the first resource. Now, the more people work on eco-design of sofas, the more foams from furniture will be recycled as well. And that will be important because the biggest market for foam in Europe is upholstered furniture. It's not mattresses.
Okay, great. Thank you for the answer. Ryan, we just also listened to the presentation of Michel and earlier about a very inspiring and ambitious goal of IKEA by 2030. And how does it look in US in terms of initiatives of recycling and circularity? What's the status in US right now?
In the U.S., we are currently operating 3 statewide mattress recycling programs in various states in the United States: California, Connecticut, and Rhode Island. We're processing nearly 2 million mattresses and box springs every year. And by processing, I mean breaking those products down mechanically, taking the materials and putting them into secondary markets where the steel, foam, fiber, and wood are converted into new products. This year, 5 additional states were considering mattress recycling legislation in their legislatures. None of those have passed yet, but we're working closely with them to broaden our program and expand it in more states.
Okay, but still you do see that it's more about like recycling than circularity, like based on the design?
Yes, it's more based on recycling. In the United States, it's very difficult to reuse post-consumer materials in a mattress. It's against the law in a number of states, or the products have to be sold as used products. We're dealing with that as well, trying to persuade states to accept clean recycled material for reuse in new mattresses. But currently, we are taking those materials that we have in mattresses that are disposed of and putting them into markets so that they can be used. Virtually 100% of the steel is currently being reused to make new products, and we're reusing approximately 80% of the foam that we gather through our recycling process. So it is circular to that extent in that it is winding back up into new products that can be used by consumers.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And Chris, we've heard about different ways in which you can think about recycling, about circularity in general, but mainly recycling. And what's the role of adhesive when it comes to chemical recycling process?
Yeah, good question. Thank you for that. Basically, first of all, it's really important to know that our adhesives, which are applied in the mattress and in furniture, can't be recycled on its own. It's due to the composition and the behavior of the adhesive that it's irreversible chemical reaction. So that's really important to know upfront. But also important to know is that our adhesive doesn't hamper any of the chemical recycling processes. We go into the recycling process, the chemical recycling process. We have experiences with several of the pilots going on in Europe, such as pyrolysis, where we just know that our adhesive doesn't affect any of those of the outcome of the polyols or the end result, basically.
Okay, which is a great news.
Yeah, actually for Saba that's great news, and also for the entire industry, basically.
Yeah, indeed. Michel, you just gave us during the presentation like a bit of update and actual status on different EPR schemes. According to you, who in the end will be responsible for creating the circular mattress industry?
That's not an easy one to answer while keeping everyone happy, right? But I really think it's a cooperation in the whole supply chain that's needed. The people who design mattresses, they need to design them in such a way that they can be dismantled easily. The people who supply the materials to make the mattress, they need to supply materials that are sustainable and can be recycled. There needs to be people who dismantle the mattresses and separate the materials correctly and in a clean way so that they can be recycled. And there needs to be actually big retailers ordering those mattresses. It's the whole supply chain that needs to get going. Okay.
Kacper, Jose, do you have something to add from your perspective on that one?
Generally, if we have anything to add, it's that IKEA basically is welcome to all actions which really support the circular economy. it was very clearly stated that our commitment till 2030 is to not use any virgin fossil-based material and to move into circular business. So we see that governments, NGOs, and the whole industry, as well as mentioned by Michael, needs to work really together if we want to really make it happen. Any legislation that trigger and enable circular movements is for us important and more than welcome.
Okay. We do see in Europe right now several regulations and initiatives, agreements like European Green Deal, Circular Economy Action Plan, etc. going on. And Kacper, that's also the question to you. Jose, you also feel free to answer on it to add a different perspective. It can be like challenging to follow all of them, I can imagine, and to put all of them in one frame, try to at least doing it. How you are managing that one?
Well, basically, at the beginning, one more time, we are really, maybe let me rephrase myself. We don't want to comment any specific EPR scheme, but one more time, IKEA is welcome to collaborate with any initiative important for the circular movements. And of course, there are different EPR movements. All of them, they have the same targets, so all of them are the same important. Of course, it's always difficult to combine them to work at the same time. But if you look a little bit closer to them, there's one target, and it is possible to combine them into one industry strategy.
Okay, so we are creating your own strategy within that one instead of trying to follow all of them separately.
And to add Kacper saying, we do have some teams now like working on it, yes, because as he mentioned, there are different EPR schemes, mainly from different countries. They don't actually copy and paste one another. Yeah, sometimes it's quite different. So we have some teams actually looking into it and try to work it, and then work also on a strategic level how, as IKEA, we can contribute to this one. But yeah, for IKEA standpoint, we don't really like. We welcome all these initiatives, yes, that promote circularity.
Okay. And Ryan, when you are listening to that one in conversation about Europe, do you recognize exactly the same coming up in US, like regulations and some kind of EPR schemes, copy-paste? Is it present right now in US, or are you seeing it coming quite soon?
I don't know that we'll see formal government regulation soon on circularity, other than on recycling. The industry is pulling together, as Michelle and Kacper and Jose mentioned. It takes a village to really make a product stream circular. So we are coordinating with throughout our value chain. We've created committees to talk about what are the new materials and new products that may be difficult to recycle in the future. We're raising awareness within the industry about focusing on the end of the life of the product, not just the beginning of the life. So we too are working collaboratively throughout the supply chain to increase circularity, to make recycling at the end of life easier. But I don't see the government stepping in and mandating this anytime soon, though.
Okay. Okay. And again, Kacper, Jose, I saw in the presentation, which was shared earlier, that you are putting a strong emphasis on collaboration with all of the supply chain. That was one of the questions which I had on my list. But can you please share a bit how you are doing it in practice? I mean, I can imagine that it can be quite tough looking at the range of raw materials which you are using, how you are working on making it somehow happen in a structural and, in the end, very effective way by 2030.
Thank you for this question, honestly speaking. Yes, it is true. Simply, we are working with NGOs, universities, other industry friends and partners, our suppliers, because we all share the same goals. And of course, at IKEA, but not only at IKEA, but all circular movements, as was mentioned by Ryan, starts from the right design of our new product. If you want to focus on something, what will be in the future, you have to start right from the beginning. So when we develop something, we, from the very beginning, would like to choose the right source of the components and the raw materials. We are focusing on efficient and effective production processes, on the right and smart material use, supply chain, durability, which give us the long-lasting product, and finally, on the end-of-life use of the product. And really, to success this, we collaborate with experts who know more, who are smarter than we, because IKEA is a huge company, but still the world outside of IKEA is bigger, smarter, and there is a lot to learn from them. And of course, we would like to invite other partners, like glue producers, to come share their initiatives, their ideas with us. We can try them to use in our products, and really all stakes matter. This is our key. This is our way of doing this difficult process in IKEA way.
Okay. And just to build up some kind of bridge between what Kacper said, and which wasn't agreed up front, by the way, but it suits perfectly to the question which I do have to you, Chris. How does Saba looks at being the supplier of IKEA, but also of other players? How does Saba look at the market when virgin fossil materials are banned from mattress production?
Yeah, that actually is a great bridge from Casper's answer to your question. I mean, we are very happy with the collaboration we have with, for instance, IKEA, but also with our contacts with Michelle and ISPA with Ryan. We as Saba, we have the ambition to align to those sustainability goals and ambitions of the IKEAs of this world, and which means that we are trying to also eliminate any of our virgin fossil material in our adhesives. And not only that, we also try to learn ourselves and to implement our knowledge into our customers' process about the sustainability. So we are very happy to collaborate and to have that whole supply chain involved with this direction and this search into doing the right thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Again, Kacper and Jose, I did see the perfect commercial in which, in fact, you are trying to building up in some kind of awareness of people of what, in fact, IKEA is doing in terms of circularity, in terms of being much more aware how we are using our planet and so on. And when you are looking at it from that perspective, is it something which is coming more from the market to IKEA and you are responding on it? Or is it something which IKEA more is creating in order to contribute to those future generations? Where is the balance according to you?
Actually, it's communicating, yes, the circularity movements. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, it's more about is it the response which IKEA is giving to the market, because you know that market is expecting solutions oriented on the future, circular economy and so on, and you are giving the response to the market, or you are more creating this kind of perspective of the market for the future?
Okay. We are actually trying to create it, yes. In fact, when we started about our circular agendas in 2016, Kacper, right? In 2016, we decided to go for it, yeah. Even though in some parts of the industry is not supporting our agenda, yes. So yeah, we map out certain aspects in our product development, and then we went for it, and then later on we started communicating it to our customer, yes, because we feel that communicating this one to our customers is our responsibility, and we are doing a lot in the product, also on how we develop these products, and it's very important to communicate this so that customers can have an informed purchase decision, yes. On the other hand, it's also very important that customers know how to use our product properly and what they can do after the end of life of the material. So actually, we have a lot of stories about that to share. Yeah? Like we have work on LED lamps, rechargeable batteries, even recycling stations. For example, PET bottles in our stores, which we then use it for our supply chain. Yes. So yeah, by going through it and communicating it is one of the key enablers on how we can our customers know with little effort how they can contribute to our sustainability agenda as well. Yes.
Okay. If I can add on this, as you mentioned at the beginning, it was IKEA who decided, but right now we see that there is a bigger and bigger group of the environmental conscious customers who are looking for it and who are asking for it. This group of the people is growing. For them, circular product which is made in a right way in front of the mother nature, is something what is not a luxury product. It's something what they ask for, something what they should have with every single visit at IKEA or another store. And this group of the people is growing. This group of the people, their voice is more and more important. So I believe that the situation, coming back to your question, is very dynamic. Right now, it's difficult to say who was first, who is pushing, who is pulling, because simply everyone is aware that it's a right movement. Clients, supply chain, sellers, authorities, governments, and NGOs. So this is probably the right answer for your question, that it is everyone's responsibility and everyone is pushing these movements in the right direction.
And it also proves, in fact, the concept that it's the right timing to start it up. If everybody around are feeling that they are prepared for it, and that's the right move for the future, indeed. Michelle, the question to you, and then we will also talk about it with the rest of the members. How you can prevent that members of your organization somehow are going into the side of greenwashing. So they are treating circularity as more marketing concept than something real, being somewhere deep in their DNA and having real efforts into direction of circularity in the future. We've heard IKEA, it's something which is coming out of their DNA. They were those who at the beginning started to create it internally and then present it to the market. And we know that right now it's extremely popular and in fashion subject. So how to prevent the fact that it's just not a marketing concept and it's real?
Well, that people speak about all the things they do in sustainability is absolutely legitimate. The thing is that, of course, it should be real, as you said. And there's different organizations that work on that to certify how much real recycled content is used in products. And there's, so you can get certified, you can get your processes certified also with some ISO standards. So the things are there. What we need to avoid is that people who don't have such certifications start making claims, but eventually, that information circulates quite fast in the market, and then those people get unmasked. So it's something relatively new for us in the polyurethane supply chain, because mechanical recycling has been existing for a long time. It's now the first time that we start using really recycled raw materials. On the other hand, we have been using biomaterials for a long time in some formulations, and there as well the certification schemes exist for that. So it's just a matter of putting the same tools in place, and I have really no doubt that in a very short term this will be the case.
Okay. So now challenging question to Chris. I don't know if you were expecting that one coming. What does Saba do to prevent greenwashing?
Yeah, I'm really glad you are mentioning that the greenwashing, and I totally agree with Michelle's answer. We are trying to do what's right and not what is beneficial for us as a company. I mean, in terms of marketing and commercial. So we are really at the beginning of that journey. We are analyzing what we can do, but also try to get that low-hanging fruit. Implement solar panels on our newly built factory, which covers a large amount of our energy consumption. Until a real practical example like separating our waste streams in our production and in our offices. We are really trying to make that baby steps forward and really prevent that greenwashing, but really do the right thing, and that takes time.
Okay. Good. I will ask you the same question in 2 years, and then we will be able to be much more
I hope we
wider in our answers.
made huge leaps forward by the time. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and now the question to all of you guys, and in fact, I think that it's something which is important for all of the mattresses producers thinking about going into circularity. There can be a specific perception from the customer side, which you, Kacper, are not so afraid of, because indeed young generation is looking forward to circular solution. But there can be a specific perception that maybe sleeping on so-called second-hand bed or something which was reused is not the best idea. Are you afraid of that one coming? And if yes, how we can prevent or how we can influence on this kind of perception? I don't know, Ryan, we haven't heard you for a while, so maybe I will give you the stage to start answering this question.
Well, it is an issue for many consumers. A couple of the issues is the reused product or recycled product clean? Does it meet existing safety standards? And does the customer know that the product is used when they buy it? I think that transparency on all of those fronts and honesty on all those fronts is important. There are unscrupulous companies that don't meet all three of those requirements. And I think it's important that if used products or materials are to be reused in a mattress, that the product be clean, that it meet all safety standards, and that the customer know about it up front. So long as that is able to happen, I think that everyone wins. So that's what our position is.
Really good universal answer, I've got a feeling. Jose, Kacper, or Michelle, or Chris, do you want to add something to that one?
Yeah, actually, I totally agree with what Ryan's saying, but you mentioned that there is a whole new generation wishing that or demanding that the products are circular. But I think that it's not only a new generation, but it's also that the Gen Y and the millennials of who are having buying power right now also demand the same and slowly beginning to change their mindset. So it's not just only the new generation who is upcoming, but also the current generation with buying power who changes their minds. And I think that communication obviously is key. Like Ryan says, with all certifications in place, I think that it's communication what is key to them to accept the circular movement.
Okay. In combination with the fact that quite often those circular products are more expensive than regular ones, still, like summarizing your answers, there is a hope that quite soon we will see this movement coming up. And the goal of IKEA seems to be like very achievable after this conversation for me personally. So thank you for that one. Unfortunately, we have to finish, even if we could talk about it like for hours. It's extremely important subject. Before we will close the part about circularity and in mattress production, I would like to invite all of you to the next video of IKEA. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, guys, for joining this this panel. I really appreciate your contribution, and definitely our viewers will appreciate it as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
If we take a look around at how we live today, what do we see? Well, we see a world of rapid climate change, dwindling resources, and unsustainable consumption. A linear world where raw materials are turned into products that are eventually turned into waste. What a waste. What if there was a better way? We've talked to people all around the world, and we know for a fact that nobody really wants to be wasteful. But the world today is not set up to make a new, resourceful way of living easy. IKEA wants to change that. What if new things could be made from old things? Then products wouldn't just be products. They would be resources, material banks for the future. But before we can even think about doing that, so much more needs to happen. Like designing products so that we can easily repair, renew, or upgrade them, and making sure it's easy for every single piece to be repurposed or remanufactured, and then, at the very end, recycled. Things would last so much longer, and we could all play our part by reselling or passing them on, moving us closer to a world without waste. We need a new mindset, a new way to make products live multiple lives. At IKEA, we're committed to transforming our complete business to become circular so that we can make it easier for people to live better and more sustainable lives with the products we make, until one day they are needed somewhere else by someone else as something else entirely.
And now, let's move on to the third and at the same time last part of our digital Saba event. During that part, we will focus ourselves on answering the question how to make production of mattresses faster. In order to give a proper kickoff for that conversation, we've invited two specialists in that subject, experts who are going to help us to deal with some kind of questions. The first one is Frederick Loward, Managing Director at the European Bedding Industry Association. And the other one is Ryan Trainer, who we already met during the previous conversations. And we are going to focus on trends and developments in the mattress market currently. Let's start from the subject which is still on the table, despite of the fact that we are living in almost post-pandemic world. It has been very difficult and challenging times for all of us, mattresses producers, but also suppliers. And it has affected many aspects of, at one side, demand, but also the supply chain. What do you see right now as the main challenge, and what kind of impact did it have on figures over last year? So maybe we'll start from you, Frederick.
Okay, thank you. We see indeed that consumption in Europe is rather stable the last 10 years. We see in Europe that around 45 million mattresses are being sold annually. If we take a look at it, that means of the total world production, the EU represents about 20% of the total production, while in the past, the European part was a bit bigger. 10 years ago, we represented about 25% of the total production. But still, COVID has had an impact on European business. But what we see is that the bedding industry, the mattress industry, has responded quite well. They have done, apart from a couple of weeks where retail and companies had to close down, they have done a reasonably good job. A lot of companies were able to present a good year, 2020, and the first half of 2021.
Okay, great. And are you also expecting that this trend is going to be maintained in coming months/years? I know that it's a question worth of, and the answer worth of millions most probably, but what's your prediction?
When we listen to the experts on this, they say that in Europe, mattress production and mattress consumption will continue to increase, to increase with 3%, 3.5% this year, and even a bit more early next year. But of course, there are some challenges. We see prices of raw materials, supply chain problems, and it remains to be seen what the impact of that will be. But let's say that our industry has responded quite well to the COVID crisis, at least a bit better than some of the other sectors, and we're quite positive that this positive trend will continue.
Okay, great. Thank you for the answer. And Ryan, how it looks like from US perspective?
Our perspective is almost identical to what Frederick just described. Aside from a few weeks in early March or 2020, when many retailers were closed and factories were closed, our market bounced back very quickly as well. I think that we're all benefiting from the fact that consumers were spending a lot more time at home. They were much more focused on maintaining good health and looking around the house to see what they could improve. And there was a lot of money in our economies. The governments responded in both countries, both areas, I think, by flooding the market with income for consumers. And as a result, I think we've benefited certainly during the pandemic with strong demand. We're hopeful that demand will continue, but now as the economy opens up, consumers are looking to spend more money on travel, on other things now that they can get back into the world. And so one of our big questions is, will that mean that consumers will shift some of their focus away from mattresses to other products and services? We're also facing some serious challenges in terms of supply chain, employment, and inflation is hitting us hard as well. And logistics are a challenge for us and for all industry. So those are some big question marks that we have to worry about. But for the time being, demand is very strong, and we hope it continues.
Okay, both of you have mentioned about those challenges regarding supply chain. I mean, raw material shortages, increasing prices. If you would have to determine categories of raw materials needed for mattresses production or everything around mattress production, where do you see the biggest issue currently? Maybe Ryan, this time you will start.
Okay. From our perspective, the biggest challenge is employment. We are having trouble hiring enough workers to assemble the products. Certainly the raw material challenges are there as well, but they fluctuate from week to week and region to region, so it's hard to generalize. We've had shortages on basically every raw material that we need, from fiber to foam to steel. And it varies depending on the manufacturer's product mix, but also the moment in time and where they're located. So it's hard to generalize, but it's just a real challenge for all of our manufacturers. They have to really understand carefully what their inventory flows are, what their order book looks like, and try to make them balanced.
Okay, great, thanks. And European perspective on that one, Frederick?
Yeah, it's a bit similar. We saw that in Europe, the shortages or the difficult supply chain started with the foam supply. But it is now also the case with other materials like textiles, fibers, steel. It started with foam one of the reasons why it started with foam is that a lot of these companies had to close down quite long. And at the same time, retail was closed, but retail could resume a bit quicker. So that means that there was a continuous demand while supply of certain materials was still down. And of course, when demand is high and supply is low, prices go up and it causes some problems. Another reason that we see is that the European economy rebounded a bit slower after the crisis, especially when compared to the US and to China. So we feel that some of the trade flows were already resuming before the European economy resumed, meaning that it was difficult for European companies to jump on the train because many of the trade flows of certain raw materials were already destined for another market.
Okay, yeah. Thank you. Thank you for this comprehensive answer. And talking about the future, because future is something which we are looking forward to, we also want to sooner or later forget about the influence of COVID and sooner or later have all of those raw material situation and price increases behind us. What kind of main trends and developments in the mattress industry you do see currently? What the customers are aiming for, what they are focusing on? We already did talk today about sustainability and circularity, but are there any others which you do see on the market?
Well, I think that the patterns of trade in terms of the consumer buying experience is really one of the biggest trends that we need to watch carefully. COVID certainly forced many consumers into e-commerce, consumers that might not have otherwise purchased through the internet. Certainly the e-commerce was a growing phenomenon prior to COVID, but it just skyrocketed because people were left at home and some retailers were closed. We've been tracking this on a quarterly basis, and it's very interesting. We're starting to see a convergence, if you will, between online purchases and brick and mortar purchases. We're seeing that online sales are trending down a little bit. They're still much larger than they were prior to the pandemic, and so it will be interesting to see how consumers respond as life returns to normal. But one of the interesting things that's coming out of this also is the consumer's appetite for box bedding. In the United States, at least, certainly box bedding is virtually the only way to buy a bed online, but in brick and mortar stores, more and more consumers are buying a box bed because it's easier to get home, and they're more comfortable with the concept. So to me, that is one of the lasting impacts of COVID, probably. We'll be tracking that to see if that changes over time. I think the other thing that's very interesting for us, and this is more of a long-term trend, is that younger generations of consumers tend to replace their products more quickly. Mm-hmm. We don't know if that's because they tend to buy at the lower price points, or if they're more conditioned to looking for new features. My kids go through phones very quickly. Yeah. I tend to keep mine very long, but we have a consumer that is being conditioned to look for new features, even though the product may not be exhausted, it may not be worn out. They still may want to replace it because they want to keep up with trends. So all of those things are factors that are affecting us and that we're tracking carefully, and I think will influence our success or failures over the long term.
Okay, great. Coming back, I do have one additional question to the second point which you mentioned, so bed in box and like a shift of the customers to that, which is obvious, to that channel in general, e-commerce, while pandemic doesn't matter if it's just only like about mattresses, but in general it moved over there. But do you have like an estimation how was it before the COVID and how it is right now when it comes to e-commerce share in a market in US? Like some kind of data about
I don't have any hard numbers. It's difficult to measure because there's all sorts of different ways to buy box beds. We did a consumer survey last quarter, and we're estimating, I believe it was around 40% of brick and mortar customers are still wanting to get a box bed. I was surprised by that large number, but
it's really high.
It's very high. We'll have to test that, keep testing it to see if that was aberrational or whether that's a real trend. But it's certainly a big issue or a big factor in consumers' minds.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, from a European side, I can confirm that. What we saw here in Europe is that e-commerce grew by about 30 to even 40% in 2020. And interestingly, not only because of growth of the pure online players, but we have also some of the what is called brick and mortar shops that invested in online sales. So that was interesting to see as well. So it's not only the pure online retailers that are benefiting, but it's also investments that have been done at the physical shops, at physical retail that made that e-commerce has been booming.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much. the main question which we do have over here during that session is how to produce mattresses like faster and more efficient. And of course, one of the road to that one is automation. And it's also extremely important for us, being adhesive supplier, to provide our customers products which will allow to produce them much faster. From your perspective, because automation in the mattress industry, distinguishing from furniture industry, is quite advanced. How you are looking at this automation in the future? I mean, do you see a possibility of going further? How customers are looking at it? You've mentioned also Ryan, labor costs and in general labor issues which you're experiencing in the market. One of the answers is automation. How you are looking in general at automation in the future world of mattress industry?
Well, automation certainly is coming into our businesses in a big way, a lot in terms of material handling. Assembly is more of a challenge in some aspects of our process because we are dealing with soft goods, and so some of the robotics needs to be much more advanced to deal with soft goods. We're not dealing with hard parts like automotive or something like that. So there are more challenges here. We also tend to have a broad variety of products that are produced by an individual manufacturer. It's often the case where a manufacturer won't know from one day to the next exactly how many of each type of product will be produced. So that also poses a challenge to robotics, to automation, to be able to have that versatility. But certainly our equipment suppliers are continually looking at ways to simplify the manufacturing process, remove fatigue from the worker so that the worker can be more productive, and also so that the workforce can be trained to do different tasks depending on what is happening in a given day. So we're trying to make it so that our workforces are more versatile. And automation is important there. Automation also is important for consistency of application of materials. For example, in adhesives, we don't want overspray. We don't want over application. We want the right amount so that it holds the product together, but that it doesn't delay the manufacturing process, and that it doesn't result in defective product going to the consumer.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. And Frederick, how does it look like in Europe? In general, in Europe, we are like extremely advanced in automation of the processes. While visiting factories sometimes, like I can't imagine what's the next step, but definitely there is. How do you look at it? Like, is there this next step somewhere already determined?
Yeah, there will be next steps. Indeed, you're right that within Europe, automation is already a big issue. We're already far advanced, but still it will continue. As Ryan already referred to the shortage of labor, indeed that is an issue in Europe. Finding the right person to do the job is not easy. What is challenging, of course, is that a mattress has become quite a complex product. In the past, it was one material. Nowadays, different materials are used to produce one mattress, so that makes automation still an issue, and still work has to be done. But of course, it will only grow stronger.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, both of you, for joining our session about the mattresses. You are real experts in it, and it was really a pleasure. Honestly, it's a pity that we don't have more time for continuing this conversation. Wish you in the meantime a wonderful day. Hopefully we will be able to meet during the next Saba, maybe not digital anymore event, but live next time. Enjoy the day, and thank you very much for your contribution. As Ryan and Frederick have mentioned in the end of our discussion, and as it was already raised earlier, automation is extremely important subject for mattress industry. It helps our customers to have a steady, repeatable process in terms of quality, but it also in terms of cost. And that's also something which Ovidiu Muresan, who just joined me, is dealing with on a daily basis. Ovidiu is my colleague working for Saba SE organization in Romania, and he's visiting customers and he's presenting to customers possibilities to produce mattresses faster on a daily basis. Correct, Ovidiu?
Hey, Eva. Yes, I'm trying my best.
Okay, so before we will move to the presentation, more insights into how we can produce mattresses much faster, I do have one question to you, just overall. What is the biggest challenge right now for customers when you are visiting mattresses producers? What are the questions? What are the challenges which they are sharing with you? And what are kind of problems they do have that also they are counting on you that you will help to solve them?
Well, Eva, based on my experience in the last couple of years, I have noticed that the manufacturers, they do have the equipment in place and the adhesive, but the implementation of those two, to make them work together, I think that's the weak point at the moment. So we, myself as a technician, we are trying to implement the adhesive in such a way that the manufacturer will get the most out of our products.
It has to be challenging.
Yes, it is, yes.
Yeah, especially with all of the range of the products which we do have right now present in the market. Okay, thank you very much, Ovidiu, for this short introduction. Right now there is a time for sharing with you all of the knowledge of Ovidiu and giving you full presentation about how can you make mattresses production much faster and much efficient.
So as I have mentioned earlier, the main issues on the market at the moment are how do we increase speed, efficiency, and at the same time to maintain the quality of the end product. One of the misconceptions on the market is that having an automated line and a automated press machine will slow down the whole process, and this is not true. If the all units are perfectly aligned and timed, by the time we do laminate the sheets of foam, sometimes we force dry them and we assemble them, the machine will do its job. Another way of increasing speed, obviously, is the transport due to the new technology, the produce and pack and bed in a box technology. The manufacturers are able to ship out their finished product and eliminating the drying time. In this image, we do see a forced drying step or an infrared unit. The purpose of this unit is to evaporate most of the water out of the adhesive and able the manufacturer to ship out the product. The next logical step in the whole process would be to roll pack it. Once we roll pack the mattress, we'll get a far smaller size and packaging, and the mattress can be shipped out directly to the consumer. In this case, it's a very good picture, and it does highlight the process of ultra compressing the mattress. This way, the mattress is rolled back, and the size of it is even smaller. This innovation enables the manufacturer to ship out the product straight to the customer, and it's very well suited for the e-commerce or online shopping. Also, another way of increasing speed is making use of the automated in-fit systems. This type of robots, they do tend to have 6 movements, but due to innovation on the market, we do see equipment suppliers which are trying to bring in the same type of equipment, robots with only 2 movements, and hopefully this will speed up the whole process as well. Also, another way of becoming faster and more efficient is the use of equipment which can multitask or can combine 2 different processes in the same time. For example, over here we do see this combi bridge. It's a bridge which holds a activator nozzle and a hot melt nozzle. In this way, the manufacturer is able to produce foam-to-foam mattresses and spring mattresses in the same time on the same line. Also, moving on, another very important aspect of the producing mattresses and the quality of the mattresses, the finished product, is the amount of adhesive we apply. We here at Saba, we do stress out that it's extremely important to reach a constant, very low adhesive coat weight. This way, we can ensure that the finished product is the highest quality possible. And in this video, we can see the correct way of measuring the coat weight. Another innovation which is worth mentioning, it's the ultra compressed mattress wrapped in paper. This way, the manufacturer does eliminate most of the plastic, and it's a great idea forward, especially towards sustainability. Yeah, that was the highlights of the whole of the presentation. I will be joining Eva probably for more comprehensive questions.
Indeed, Ovidiu, based on your presentation, some of the questions came to my mind. The first one is, you presented like a few technologies which are existing in the market or which are going to be introduced in the market. According to your experience, you are visiting customers on a daily basis. What is the most commonly used automatic technology right now in the market?
From the application point of view? Are you referring to like a water-based hot melt or lines which are automatic or manual lines?
Let's say in general, and let's divide it maybe into like the type of the mattresses, because of course we have to talk about like flat mattresses, sandwich mattresses, and on the other side we do have pocket spring mattresses. So I do understand and I do know the difference in the production process of those two. So let's divide it into those two sectors.
Okay. So to be in a very simple way, we do have the foam-to-foam mattresses, all different types, colors, sizes, and on the other side we do have the spring mattresses, which are spring mattresses or pocket spring mattresses, Bonell or pocket spring mattresses. We do see the hot melt being used more often when it's about pocket spring mattresses, and definitely water-based, which is the more effective technology when we are talking about foam-to-foam mattresses.
And in terms of foam-to-foam mattresses, because that's something which is also, as we learned today, a market which is still growing thanks to e-commerce, bed-in-box, and that's most commonly used materials over there, foam-to-foam. In terms of that technology, what's the most commonly used machinery for speeding the process up?
We do have the automated lines. Definitely, this is the best solution on the market if you're trying to reach a very high speed, production speed, a very high level of efficiency, and to maintain the same high quality of the product.
And what's the difference between the conventional and between like a so-called produce and pack technology? What's the difference for us as an adhesive supplier, and what we have to take a closer look at, and what's the difference for the producer in the end?
Well, the main difference between the mattresses is that some of the mattresses are coming in standard size, and the other ones can be rolled back, or they can be compressed in a very small size to be shipped out to the customer. So depending on the manufacturer and the way they are orientated, their business is orientated, we do provide water-based adhesive, which we call it standard rollable adhesive. With this type of adhesive, they are able to produce mattresses, pack them after the drying time, the necessary drying time, and then ship them out.
And just to interrupt, you've mentioned during the presentation that extremely important is measuring the coverage. And you've mentioned that we can go really low in case of some of the circumstances with the coverage. What does it mean really low?
Okay, so if the right product is used with the right equipment, Saba does at the moment experiences around 40 grams per square meter.
Wow, that's really low.
Yeah, that's a very low coat weight, and that's achieved as well. I think it's very important to be mentioned. It's achieved with the automated lines, so no human interaction there at all, which means the speed is very high. And another technology which is, I think, it's far superior and it's up to date at the moment. It's the thermoactivated or the forced-to-dry adhesive technology.
And what's the advantage and what's the disadvantage?
And we do see a very high demand towards this technology at the moment. The advantages are that the manufacturer can produce and pack straight after, and the finished product is a very compressed size, a very small size, which is easy to be handled by the manufacturer. It's very easy to be manual handled by the consumer. So yeah, just benefits.
Okay.
Talking about disadvantages of the thermoactivated adhesive.
I can imagine that there has to be like a really specific type of the adhesive just to provide recovery of the foam afterwards.
The main disadvantage is that it's a specific product and the implementation of it has to be done carefully. And this is the reason why we at Saba, we work in very close contact with the equipment providers to meet the manufacturer's expectations. Because it's one thing to have the product and the machinery in place, but it's a completely different matter to make those two work together.
Okay, and looking at your presentation, we also did see many ideas for the future, like combining few technologies, like few bonding technologies, few adhesives in one machinery. Do you see like a big advantage of that one for the future, and what can it bring to customers?
Yes. The whole trend and the whole purpose of us technicians, the manufacturers, is to meet the customer's demand. And they are continuously demanding new products, new technologies in a shorter period of time. And also very important for the manufacturer is to be as competitive on the market as possible. So this means very high efficiency. The efficiency and the speed, yes, they are possible. You can reach them. But it does take our support, to implement the adhesive properly.
Okay, we are talking over here, like we are representing Saba, adhesive producer, and we are responsible for supplying our customers with bonding solutions. But a lot of in this conversation, we are talking about machinery producers. How on daily basis the cooperation looks like? I mean, I can imagine that one can't work properly without the other one. Is it also the case that when we are developing new product or machine supplier is developing a new type of machinery, that there is some kind of collaboration between
Yes,
another?
of course. The equipment providers, they are also focusing on how to increase efficiency. And I think your two questions are related because we do see a lot of initiatives on the market from their side. The way you can increase efficiency is by having equipment which can do two processes in the same time. For example, we do see an initiative from one of the equipment supplier which is trying to produce mattresses, foam-to-foam mattresses and spring mattresses in the same time. And all this with the special of a combi bridge which homes nozzles, spring activator and hot melt nozzles. Another way to increase efficiency is the use of software, for example. We do see an initiative from another equipment provider which is introducing the OEE and the PLT software. OEE basically means overall equipment effectiveness and PLT productivity level tracking. And the purpose of the software is to increase the efficiency of the equipment.
And to be able to monitor that one.
Yes, we do. The quality as well is very important, by the way. We do have the latest innovation on the market regarding the quality of the process itself. We have the inbuilt controlled unit. This unit does provide real data, quality data to the manufacturer. So the manufacturer doesn't have to stop for checks, for tests. This unit can identify the common faults into the production line.
Okay, great. All of that sounds sometimes a bit of complicated. You are a technician doing this kind of job on daily basis, but I do have one general question. Let's imagine please. We do have a customer who's contacting you. They're interested in or starting to produce the mattresses or to level up with the production. You are meeting them, and then what's the next step?
Well, the next step is for us to understand what exactly the manufacturer is expecting from us. And that's the main goal for us. Identifying their needs, it's the first step. Once we learn what the manufacturer is expecting to produce, how to produce it, when to produce it, and where to produce it, then we are able to move forward with the process. It's a time-consuming process, but in the end, the manufacturer is the one who gains all the winnings.
Okay. So in fact, summarizing, if there is anybody on the other side of the camera right now interested in investing additionally in automation of the mattress production, or they want to level up with the speed, efficiency, and so on, Ovidiu is definitely, and other Saba colleagues, the right person to contact with.
Correct.
Thank you very much, Ovidiu, for this comprehensive presentation.
Thank you very much, Eva. And I will take the occasion to say thank you to our partners. We do work in very close contact with the equipment suppliers, and I will say thank you to C3, Aper, Quarata, and Gruppo Grassi. Our partnership means a lot to us and able us to provide the support, the technical support our clients desire.
I couldn't imagine better summary when it comes to delivering adhesive, not as just adhesive, but being the package of the total solution for our customers. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to be your host today. Hope you enjoyed all of the 3 sessions which we prepared for you. In case of any questions, please don't hesitate to contact us. In the meantime, I wish you a wonderful day and see you soon.